And good evening, everybody, and welcome to Dodgers Daily Sunday night, Dodgers Dawgs Sunday night in the big town. Super excited to talk Dodgers baseball. As you can see, I am by myself tonight, so going to rely on the chat, and we're going to have a good time talking Dodgers baseball. What's on my mind to begin with is the recent news that the Dodgers are in on some high-leverage relievers. The two names that were brought up by most of the people that were talking about this were Kenley Jansen and then also Ryan Brazer. I'm going to bring up my chat right here, and we're going to talk about those two guys and whether you think the Dodgers need either one of them. Now, keep in mind, at this point, we kind of hinted this the other night, Austin and I did. If you bring it, whoever you get at this point is going to have opportunity cost with it, and pretty much that opportunity cost is going to be innings for either Kyle Hurt or Emmett Sheehan.
Hyundai Sonata versus Nissan Altima.
I'm not exactly sure where that.
Look what Sonata
that's
has.
coming from. Actually, my Fangraphs page
Altima
right there. I'm going to turn that off, and then
Hyundai Sonata
listen to that
wins
anymore.
Every time.
So if you have a six-man rotation with Emmett Sheehan, and then the problem is you have guys that on the roster that don't have options, and the guys that you do. We're going to go through some of the numbers and how that would play out. Let me actually get my roster up right now. I had my roster up, and then it started playing that commercial, so sorry about that. Okay, so let's start with the chat tonight, and let's dive right in because this is an interesting conversation. We're going to go over all the numbers. We're going to go through all the roster, and we're going to talk about what makes the most sense for the Dodgers. How could they figure it out? How could they make all this work to get to win a World Series, put everybody in position to win the World Series, and then also figure out all of the logjam on the roster here. So a great crowd logging in right now. Carlos Modest, thank you so much for joining. Please know on Kenley Jansen, we don't need him. He's washed. That is Carlos's opinion on that. Eddie Chavez, let the season begin already. Can't wait. Let's go Dodgers. No doubt about that. And the thing is, the Dodgers, they have spent and done a great job filling out their roster this year, and it is going to be super exciting going into spring training, which is the 9th. So what is that? Just about 11 days away. So super, super exciting for that. And I know a lot of people are going to be at spring training and can't wait for Dodgers baseball. Norm Lee, thank you so much for joining Sunday night in the big town here on Dodgers Dawgs with new rules and his clock delivery. And his clock delivery, every single or walk is a double. And remember how he intentionally walked batters when a man was on second because of his sign-stealing paranoia. Heck no, says Norm Lee, and that would be to Kenley Jansen. That is pretty much the response that I've gotten almost unanimously on him. So slow-mo delivery, says Norm. John Kazi says, good evening, all. Good evening, John. John says we should just go with what we have in the bullpen. We can always make a deal at the deadline. I am 100% on that. Now, the question is, would you want a Ryan Brazer? Would you want that guy? And so we're probably going to, hey, Craig, good evening to yourself. Thank you so much for joining, and thank you for saying hello tonight. So we're probably going to transition pretty fast here from talking about Kenley Jansen into talking about Ryan Brazer, and then we're going to get into the discussion as to opportunity cost versus what Ryan Brazer might bring, the volatility of a reliever spot, the right field pavilion. What's up, Dodgers fan? What's up to yourself, right field pavilion? So glad you decided to tune in to Dodgers Dawgs on a Sunday night in the big town, talking Dodgers baseball, having a heck of a lot of fun. DS, good evening, Casey. Is there any value in signing Luzardo at this point, along with a solid lefty reliever? Of course, Luzardo, no, because he's a starter. So what the Dodgers did, they didn't want to spend all of the prospects it would have taken to get a Jesus Luzardo. I'm sure they called Miami and inquired about him, and the prospect all it was going to take was something that the Dodgers were not going to touch. So let's look at Jesus Luzardo. Let's look at the profile. The fastball that can reach mid to high 90s, left-handed, a guy that can be a power arm out of the left side, the slider and the changeup and all of that. So what the Dodgers did is they said, well, we don't think we can afford Jesus Luzardo. We don't want to give up all these prospects. So let's take that profile that he has. Let's find a guy that we think can have that same profile that we can afford. Well, that guy was James Paxton. That's why going all the way back to the trade deadline, I felt like James Paxton made a heck of a lot of sense for the Dodgers. That's why I'm excited about him. So they chose James Paxton and the free agency route over going and getting a Jesus Luzardo and giving up all those prospects. So now James Paxton at the end of this year will be a free agent. Now you can survey what you want to do at that point, and you can go get Jesus Luzardo after this year, or you could use some of the lefties you have. I know Ronan Kopp, I think by this time next year, will be ready to make the major leagues. So will Justin Robleski, maybe a Maddox Bruns. Who knows? So I do think Alec Gamboa, John Rooney, they're both in relief right now, but you could always move them back to starting positions. So this time next year, you're going to have a whole different look at, as a matter of fact, let's give a look at John Rooney, and let's get him up on the board here. There is no reason for you guys to be looking at my ugly mug, right? When you can be looking at some of these prospects that the Dodgers have in their system that might play roles as early as this year, but certainly next year. So when we're talking about, here is John Rooney right here. Let me get him on the right
Lead
side
off the eighth inning for Wichita. First pitch, swinging the ball, hit in the air down the right field side.
And then we will get after looking at John Rooney right there. That is John Rooney, and so you can always move him. Now, John Rooney has the best pickoff move in all the game of baseball. He picked off Jose Altuve last year. And by the way, I was talking to his pitching coach in Double-A Tulsa during a linger. John Rooney has enough pickoff moves in his professional career to add up to an entire 9-inning baseball game. So he is a lefty that's long. He's a lefty that can pitch both east-west and north and south, and he's a lefty that can control the running game because he has an elite pickoff move. Alec Gamboa as well. So we're going to go into some of the lefties that could possibly ETA this year, but this one right here is John Rooney. So I say all that to say this time next year, you're looking at James Paxton. He's a free agent. That opens up. You're going to want a lefty. Yeah, that opens up another spot to see what you got. You could move this guy, John Rooney, back to a starting role. You could move Alec Gamboa back to a starting role. You have Ronan Kopp, who could move back into a starting role. I think Robo is going to be close to being ready this time next year. If Maddox Bruns continues to throw his fastball in zone north of 60% of the time like he did the last 2 months of last season, he could be ready next year. So there's a lot of candidates. So I really do like what the Dodgers did with James Paxton in the sense that they went and got the profile that they wanted, and then they did it with the guy that is going to give them flexibility for next year. So here is Alec Gamboa. We're going to take a look at him. If you notice, he looks like Fernando Valenzuela when he is on the bump. And so Tanner Scott is a guy, let's keep in mind that every single person that the Dodgers go get, there is going to be an opportunity cost. I'm going to go over the roster and talk about some of the guys that don't have options, meaning they can't be sent back down to the minor leagues, and then other guys like Brazer, Gratterall, Alex Vesia that do have options, JP Fireeisen, but likely won't get sent back down to LA. So it's not as easy as just saying, hey, let's go get Ryan Brazier, let's go get Tanner Scott. You also have to figure out, how is this going to work? Are the Dodgers going to have a six-man rotation? How will the six-man rotation work? All of that coming up. So I think Tanner Scott definitely, Austin I know is very strong on this. Tanner Scott would be worth the opportunity cost. Ryan Brazier likely would be, but we're going to talk about it here in just a minute. David Razor, opportunity cost, great topic. Last year preparing for this year would have provided a better basis for this year if they could have had a true youth movement. That's exactly what I'm saying. So what happens when you go, here's Alec Gamboa. Let me put on Ronan Kopp here just for a second as we flip back and forth. And please bear with me here. I'm by myself, so if you hear a couple of pauses here, that just simply means I'm trying to get new video up and good video. This is Ronan Kopp actually from the stadium, so you get a good look at him. So the problem with guys like James Paxton, Lance Lynn, even like J.D. Martinez, Noah Syndergaard, you say, well, there's no risk in a one-year contract. Well, financially there isn't, because if it doesn't work out, you eat the contract, you move on. But what actually the risk is in what's called opportunity cost. And what I mean by that is the guy that you signed, James Paxton, for instance, he's going to take innings away from guys that you could have used in your system. So if the Dodgers don't win a World Series, okay, at the end of this year, they also haven't used their prospects. So at the end of this year, if you haven't won your World Series, or even worse, if you didn't even win a playoff game or a playoff series, which it's World Series or bust for this team. So if you're this team and you're the Dodgers and you don't win a World Series and you don't build any prospects, you have lost on every single front that there possibly could be. So that is the absolute risk to using guys like James Paxton over guys in your system that you could control and have at very cheap cost for long periods of time, is that if you use the veteran guys on one-year contracts, you're resetting the next year and having to start all the way over. And then, again, you don't have guys that you can replace them with in your system that have a whole lot of experience. So that is a point to make. So every time the Dodgers make a move, I only say that to say every time they make a move, especially from here on out, you have to weigh the opportunity cost. And I think you have to do that based on each and every different situation. So let's move on now to Justin Robleski, another left-hander in the system. And we're talking about Tanner Scott that the Dodgers could pick up. I think everybody would want Ryan Brazer. So let's look at Justin Robleski here for just a second, and then we'll move on to some other pitchers as we go. Let's get back to the chat, though, and we are talking about whether the Dodgers need to make one more move or not. I think they will, and I think it's probably going to be Ryan Brazer. I think that's probably where they're headed. We've talked about that before. Roy Estrada, hey, thank you so much for joining. Hey, John, thank you so much for joining as well. Hey, back to yourself, John Kazi. We love it whenever you join. Big mistake to bring Jansen back. If he is in the bullpen, Roberts will use him at the wrong time. That's another part of it, too, is we kind of talked about that with Clayton Kershaw, is I love Dave Roberts. I defend Dave Roberts, but he does have his guys. And if you give him a roster full of his guys, he's going to use his guys. And so I think Roy has a good, and I don't mean that to throw shade. I just mean that that's a tendency that a guy typically has. And trust me, I'm not trying to be critical or try to throw shade. I'm just trying to be honest with the way that I see things. Everybody has strengths and everybody has weaknesses. I do think, as Roy is saying here, I think he has a legitimate point. I do think one of the weaknesses with Dave Roberts is that he does have his guys, and he tends to stick with his guys even if it's not the right move to make just because they are his guys. So, hey, if you disagree with that, let me hear you. Let me hear your thoughts on that, but that's kind of the way I see that. Hey, Showtime LA, thank you so much for joining this evening. So glad you joined Dodgers Dogs. This is 28-3 all over again. Craig Osterberg is in the house, so thank you so much for joining, Craig. DS says, give Hurt the closer role. Hey, trust me, I would be all about that. I would like to think, though, this is Justin Robleski you're seeing here. Let's move to Maddox Bruns now, and let's take a look at the lefty out of Alabama, Maddox Bruns, and let's talk about the Dodgers as we continue on with here. We don't have to be looking at the exact guy we're talking about because we're going to jump back and forth quite a bit. So we're going to talk about all sorts of different things. And so Scott Strong says, I get not wanting Jansen, but let's not act like he's not a good pitcher. I would agree with that. That's a little bit sloppy of a picture right there. So some are saying, hey, let's let Kyle Hurt have the closer role, and Kyle Hurt is very, very, very talented. Kenley Jansen has been a good pitcher in his career. It is a lightning bolt of a topic. That's why I brought it up. Hey, we are not scared to talk about sensitive issues on here and to give our opinions on it very respectfully as far as what we think. It's okay to not want this guy or to not want that guy. It's not personal. We are the Dodgers. We expect to win world championships, and we are huge Dodger fans, and so we all have very, very, very passionate opinions as far as what we think is best for the Dodgers, and that is why we are here, is to give our opinions and talk about it and have a good time. So I would agree, Scott, Kenley Jansen is a good pitcher. Personally, here's my point. Here is my stance on the Kenley Jansen deal. I don't think he is such a good pitcher that, first of all, if you bring Kenley Jansen on, it's going to take innings away from Kyle Hurt or Emmett Sheehan, probably both. So the question has to be, is Kenley Jansen good enough to justify stunting the development of two guys like Emmett Sheehan and Kyle Hurt? I thought James Paxton was worth the opportunity cost. I do not think Kenley Jansen is worth that opportunity cost, because if you look at the Dodgers roster, and let me get that up right quick. Let me get on the other screen. The Dodgers roster. Here are the mathematical numbers. If you use a 6-man rotation, the only way that can work is if you have a taxi squad back and forth from Oklahoma City. And as Jay said in the comments the other day, the one way that the Dodgers would do it is that they would have that up-down train, that taxi train from Oklahoma City to Los Angeles, and they would constantly be sending new arms, fresh arms up and back. So you can take an arm, say like a Michael Grove. He can go 3 or 4 innings in your bullpen, because with a 6 starter, you're losing that bullpen guy. So to keep your bullpen fresh, somebody's going to have to go extended innings. But still, even the math doesn't add that up if that somebody stays on the roster the whole time. So not only do you need guys that can go multiple innings, you need guys that can go up and down from Oklahoma City, so you can continually have a fresh arm in your bullpen that can go 3 or 4 innings. So for it to work, you're going to have that up-down taxi train from Oklahoma City for a 6-man rotation. If it's not that, then Emmett Sheehan is going to be in your bullpen. And still, even if you look at that, there's just not room for both Emmett Sheehan or Kyle Hurt. There's just an opportunity cost for that. So Walker Buehler, when he gets healthy, he's one of your starters, okay? So let's say you have your 6 starters: Walker Buehler, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Tyler Glasnow, Bobby Miller, and then James Paxton, and then Emmett Sheehan. So let's look at your relief pitchers now at this point. Caleb Ferguson, no options. So he's definitely on the 26-man. So there's one, Caleb Ferguson. Brusdar Graterol does have options, but he is going to be in L.A. There is number 2. Joe Kelly, he does not have options. There is number 3, no doubt about that. Evan Phillips does not have options. There is number 4. Blake Trinan does not have options. There is number 5. And then Ryan Yarbrough does not have options. There's 6. So now that only leaves, so there's your 6 starters, there are your 6 relievers, and that only leaves you that 13th spot to taxi back and forth to Oklahoma City and back. And also, that does not include the guys, so that leaves you 1 spot for all of these guys if you go 6-man rotation. JP Fireeisen, so again, for 1 spot for all these guys: JP Fireeisen, Michael Grove, Kyle Hurt, Landon Knack, Gavin Stone, Ricky Vanasco, Gus Varland, Alex Vesia. 1 spot for all those guys. Let me go through them again: Alex Vesia, Gus Varland, Ricky Vanasco, Gavin Stone, Landon Knack, Kyle Hurt, Michael Grove, JP Fireeisen. 1 spot for all of those guys. That's all you have. So the math tells you, well, and that doesn't even include Ryan Brazer. So if you add Ryan Brazer to that, if you add Kenley Jansen to that, that eliminates that spot. So mathematically, you're either going to have Emmett Sheehan or Kyle Hurt on your active roster, not both. And likely there's going to be substantial periods of time, if you go get a Ryan Brazer or Kenley Jansen, where neither one of them are on your 26-man roster. There's your problem. There's your problem with your math. So when asking this question, and there is no right answer, trust me, I am open-minded. I want the Dodgers to win a World Series. So if the opportunity cost is worth it, this is Maddox Bruns that we're looking at here. I'm going to flip this back to me. I want the Dodgers to win a World Series. So if the opportunity cost is worth it, trust me, I want the Dodgers to go get whoever it is that will help them win a World Series. That is number 1. But when you look at the numbers I just did, it has to be somebody that is worth, again, Kyle Hurt and Emmett Sheehan possibly having times that neither one of them's on the 26, almost all the time where there's only one, and then never times where there's both of them on that roster. Plus, if you add Clayton Kershaw to that, that adds complications even further to that number crunch. So there's the problem. Kenley Jansen, in my opinion, it's not like Scott said. It's not like he's not a good pitcher. Just from a numbers perspective, it doesn't make sense to go get a guy like that and to hinder and put another obstacle in the way of the development of Emmett Sheehan or Kyle Hurt. That's just my opinion as far as how that issue goes. Ryan Brazer would be an entirely different issue. Personally, Ryan Brazer was very good, but again, there's a lot of volatility in a relief pitcher type situation. I would be okay with whichever way the Dodgers went in that situation. I certainly would be okay if they just said, you know what, to heck with it. We're going to treat Kyle Hurt as that guy or whatever and stick with Kyle Hurt instead of Ryan Brazer. I would also understand that the Dodgers would think, hey, you don't find guys like Ryan Brazer we know that he can pitch with Los Angeles. We know he can handle the pressure of being a Dodger. We know that he likes our system, our coaches. We know he can have success in this system. So I would totally understand it if the Dodgers said, you know what, it's almost a guarantee that we're going to make Ryan Brazer good again. Let's go get him and let's put him on the roster. I would understand that too, and I totally understand it if that is the way that you see these things too. So it sounds like I have not been watching any NFL since the Rams and the Bills got taken out. I really haven't watched a whole lot of NFL from there. So it sounds like the Lions are, well, right here it says, Yosef Bavada says the Lions are choking. So I'll have to take their word on that. Okay, Roy Estrada, Scott Strong. Okay, here we go. All right, Ela Shiva. Good evening, Ela Shiva. She says, I agree with Jay. Where is Jay right here? Jay says, go Casey. Hey, Jay, how are you, my man? Good to talk to you. If you have not read some of Jay's comments, I'm telling you, man, Jay needs to be a lawyer because when I read Jay's comments, it's like, wow. I mean, he gets me thinking and he gets me into that mode. Like, man, it's just great conversations. So thank you so much for joining, Jay. I always love it when you're on the show, and I always love it whenever you lead comments because they are just absolutely simply so fantastic. We have enough pieces to make a closer, says LC. I would agree with that. We kind of went over that. No on Kenley says Living Doorway. Hey, Living Doorway, thank you for joining every Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday. Keep that book closed. Yeah, the thing about it is, it's kind of one of those deals like you can never go home. I mean, and we talked about, do the Dodgers want to turn this over? Do you want this to be Shohei's era? And sometimes you need to pass the torch. Is this the time to pass the torch? That is a touchy topic. That's a sensitive situation because everybody's going to have a different opinion. You know, everybody's going to want Clayton Kershaw back. There are going to be some people that want like a Kike Hernandez back, although his WRC plus numbers would suggest that even as a Dodger last year when he got better, when he came to the Dodgers and played better, but even as a Dodger, his WRC plus would suggest he was a below average player. There are still people that would like to have Kike Hernandez just because they remember the success that he's had with the Dodgers, and he got a couple of base hits in the postseason. So I understand the sensitive topic about that, but hey, we're not scared to give our opinions here in a respectful way and have a good time talking Dodgers baseball. Ela Shiva says yes on Brazer. I can totally understand that. John Kazi says, not going to lie, I'd take Brazer. I think most Dodgers fans, including myself, would say yes to Ryan Brazer. Is the opportunity cost worth? The opportunity cost, again, is going to be Emmett Sheehan, Kyle Hurt, Michael Grove, all the rookies. That's going to be the opportunity cost. Is that worth it to get a Ryan Brazer? I think you have to say yes to that. But again, if the Dodgers decide not to, I can agree with that too. I'm good either way on that situation. Okay. So Scott Strong says that he's defending Kenley Jansen, and I totally get it. This is the great part of Dodgers Daily. We have a back and forth. We all have our opinions. We talk about it, and we do it in a respectful way. And we talk about even the tough topics, and we do it to where we can all voice our opinion. This is fantastic. So Scott is defending Kenley Jansen here. Says, dude still has good numbers, increased velo, and lots of strikeouts, and even splits. So that's the defense of Kenley Jansen. I would not be on the opportunity cost bandwagon for him. And again, I'm with Scott. It's not because he's a bad pitcher. It's because I don't think he's a good enough pitcher to justify the innings he would take away from Emmett Sheehan and Kyle Hurt. That's my opinion on that. Me Rojo, I'm glad we didn't get Hader. There are some Dodgers fans. I'm glad we didn't get Hader because I think that the Astros are going to lose out on the end of that contract. I think that was too long for the volatility of a reliever. But we'll see. Hey, the Astros are a great organization. They know what they're doing. I know I know the Astros. They did all the trash can stuff, and it's easy to hate the Astros, and I hate them just like you guys do. But at the same time, you got to admit they're a great organization. They took a chance on them, so we'll see. I'm in the boat there. I was a no on Josh Hader for the terms that the Astros signed him at, so I'm there with you. Scott Strong, Kenley Jansen has better stuff and K's than Ryan Brazer. Ryan Brazer, the problem was he was very good with the Dodgers last year, so you have very recent proof that Ryan Brazer can be fantastic in a Dodgers uniform. So I think that's a good debate to have, whether Kenley Jansen is better than Ryan Brazer. Personally, I would choose Ryan Brazer over Kenley Jansen, and that's because of the proof that you have as of late. I like the cutter type look. I just think the mix that he has going and the way that the Dodgers were able to get with him, I think there's a more guarantee for success for him than Kenley Jansen. Plus, I think Kenley Jansen is going to be asked to close, and I think that's going to create some more volatility to the situation, whereas Ryan Brazer is going to be more of your setup guy. I think that moves Evan Phillips to closer, and I think the Dodgers are better from that positioning. But that's just my opinion, and again, that's a great conversation to have. There is no right or wrong answer. I promise you, if you get in the Dodgers war room, they're having the same conversation we are. There are people giving the pros and cons. There's people agreeing with one thing. There's people disagreeing with another. And they're coming to an eventual solution to it, an answer to it. And we'll see what that is. But I do think the Dodgers have one more move left. I think they are going to get Kenley Jansen or Ryan Brazer. I do think that's going to happen. So LC says Kenley Jansen's cutter doesn't seem to cut anymore. It stays up over the plate and gets hit hard. David Razor opportunity. That's a great topic. Yep. We talked about that. Roy Estrada. I always love it when Roy joins. He always has such wonderful comments, and the crowd always has a great back and forth with the people in the crowd. So let's see. Let's get to some more comments here. Here we go. I think I lost my spot. So give me a chance. Give me a second here. I'm by myself, so let me get back to where I was. Sometimes this chat refreshes and I lose where I was at. So if I actually skip a chat comment in here, it's not because I'm ignoring you. It's because it refreshed and I didn't find it. LC says, yeah, we're talking about the cutter there. There's the opportunity cost. And then DS says Paxton plays out of the pen in postseason. I mentioned that the other day. That's another thing that I'm very excited about with James Paxton. I think especially if Clayton Kershaw comes back, you're only going to need 3 starters in a 5-game series, probably 4 starters in a 7-game series, which moves James Paxton out of the starting rotation. And if he's had success with the Dodgers, you take that 98-mile-an-hour left-handed fastball, you tell him to max out, maybe that 98 turns into 100. Now you have a 100-mile-an-hour left-handed fastball coming out of the pen. That's one of the big reasons why I loved the James Paxton signing. I just think hey, nothing's guaranteed. James Paxton might come to the Dodgers and absolutely suck. I mean, not easily, but that could happen. So nothing is guaranteed. But when you look at the odds, you look at the upside of it, there is so much upside to it that it was definitely worth taking on that chance for the many different roles. Like DS said, you could the different ways that you could use him, both in the regular season and the postseason. So I think he kills 2 birds with 1 stone. I think he gives you the left-handed starter for the regular season and quite possibly the left-handed high-leverage reliever for the postseason. Boy, wouldn't that be fun. Roy Estrada, Roberts had to use Arias in 2020 to close out the World Series because no trust in Jansen, who lost Game 2 in the World Series. Says, no, thank you. Hey, Mike, good evening, Mike. Hey, by the way, Mike wrote 2 wonderful articles on Yoendry Vargas and Josue de Paula. Going to post those in the morning. And by the way, Friday evening, Mike, myself, Austin, and Coach Holt, we're all going to get together, and we're going to have a hell of a good time here on Dodgers Dogs. recapping the entire offseason. Hopefully by then we have some more free agency news to talk about. I think, again, there's one more move to make, not counting Clayton Kershaw, of course. He's going to be after pitchers and catchers report, and I think this move probably has to be as well because the Dodgers don't want to DFA anybody, and they would have to make this move happen. But we're going to have a good time sitting around the fire and talking about just how great this offseason has been, and I think we would all have to agree this offseason has simply been fantastic. Yeah, and Scott Strong says Jansen was warming in the pen, so he thinks that overblown, that narrative of Roberts feeling like he couldn't use Jansen in that situation was overblown. If Arias was shook, Jansen was coming in, and so that you could look at it from that perspective, but the fact of the matter is Julio Arias was on the mound, and he did close, and I'm glad that happened because I'm really excited about that World Series that the Dodgers won. I hope they win another one this year. Hey, Mike says, if you're new to live, make sure to hit the like button and smash that subscribe button. Tell all your friends about Dodgers Daily, and hey, get them on over here. We have an awesome crowd tonight, so thank you so much for joining. I want to say out loud and in front of everybody, thank you to Mike for everything that he is doing for Dodgers Daily. He is just a rock star. He's written all these articles. He's done, I think now, 2 or 3 hot takes. And by the way, the hot takes that he's done have been the most successful ones that we have absolutely done. He has absolutely rocked all those things, knocked him out of the park, and he's going to spring training. So out loud, I wanted to say thank you to Mike, who is moderating tonight. If you have any questions for him, don't hesitate to ask. He will answer all of your questions. So, Mike, thank you so much for everything you're doing. Yeah, Scott says Game 2 was like 7 years ago. Hey, Danny McGonaugh, thank you so much for joining. We need to stop with this Jansen narrative, absolute nonsense. Yeah, well, it's not me talking about it, Daniel. This was news from the most legitimate sources in the major league. So it's not nonsense. This is something that the Dodgers are considering. Now, you might think it's nonsense that they are considering, and I understand that. I wouldn't do it either, Daniel, no doubt about it. But it's not nonsense in the sense that the Dodgers are, and it has been reported by the most reputable of sources, that the Dodgers are considering bringing Kenley Jansen back. So if you don't want that, express your opinion and express it loudly and let the front office know how you feel. Let me put it politely. Roy does not like Kenley Jansen. We'll say that. And let's make sure and be respectful to everybody, as we are. We always are. He's not bad. Don't be mad if he's a Dodger again. The Dodgers are considering him just like Joe Kelly. He's increased his velo. Okay. Hey, DGR Blue 4, thank you so much for joining every Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday in the big town here on Dodgers Dogs. I don't understand the fascination with bringing back old teammates. No thanks to Kenley. I agree. You can never really go back home. After you leave, you go off to college and you come back. Yeah, you can live at the same address and with your parents, but it's just not the same as it was when you were a kid, right? I mean, do the Dodgers really want to try to be the 2017 Dodgers again? Or do they want to become the Shohei Ohtani era, the Tyler Glasnow, the Yoshinobu Yamamoto era Dodgers, and turn the page and try to make a new era of Dodgers baseball? There's going to be passionate opinions on both sides of that. I will simply put it this way. I want a new era of Dodgers baseball. I think the Dodgers are primed in the next 10 years to win 3 or 4 World Series championships if they make decisions based on who they actually think is the best players available, whether that be constructing and building a roster or putting in a game or on the mound in any particular game. I think if they don't play favorites, if they don't play the nostalgia game, if they don't put people in just because of who their names are, if they just stick with the best available, they are going to win multiple world championships in the next decade. I think the only thing that can get in their way is if they play the nostalgia card. That's my opinion. I'm pretty passionate about that. If you disagree with me, I understand that as well. I understand if you have an entirely different look on that, but I am ready to make a new era of Dodgers baseball, and I'm ready for that era to win multiple world championships. So thank you so much for that comment. Hey, Roy says Roy and Scott are talking back and forth about Kenley Jansen and some relievers at this point. Hey, Mike says closer by committee. We don't need a closer. I would agree with that. And really, closer by committee is something that happens anyways, because the way that guys pitch nowadays, they never go 3 days in a row. If you don't believe me, Evan Phillips did it, I think, one time last year. Actually, I think he may have done it twice, and he gave up some runs in the second one, and people lost their minds. So every third day, that your closer's not available anyways. So your closer's only available every 2 out of 3 days anyways. So just the way that clubs use arms anyways creates closer by committee type setups. Somebody every third day is going to have to get the last 3 outs anyways. So that closer by committee is something that people go, why would you do that? Well, it happens just because of the way, just because of math. It happens anyway. So that being the case, the Dodgers have plenty of guys on the roster, like Mike's saying, that could get the last 3 outs. Evan Phillips could get them. Joe Kelly could get them. If you go get a Ryan Brazer or a Tanner Scott, they could get him, or a Kenley Jansen. A Kyle Hurt could get him. You know, Blake Trinan could get him. Gus Varlin or Ricky. But there's just a ton of people that could get the last 3 outs. And you don't have to label it necessarily closer by committee, because, again, that's just kind of a situation that happens anyways. And John is agreeing with Mike, John Causey, about the closer by committee. Hey, El Rojas. Love it when El Rojas joins. Always wonderful comments. He was a good pitcher at one time, but not anymore. Hey, El Rojas, yeah, thank you so much for joining. I would say that Kenley Jansen still is a good pitcher. I think you got to give him credit for being a good pitcher. But, again, I think the best way to look at that is, although he is a good pitcher, he's not worth the opportunity cost of Kyle Hurt and or Emmett Sheehan and or both of them losing innings. I think that's the best take. At least that's my take on the Kenley Jansen situation. Mike says, let the kids come up one more year to get experience and be evaluated the first half of the season, make adjustments during the trade deadline. The thing about using prospects is that if you do use it hedges your bets, because if you do use them and you don't win a World Series, you're not completely empty-handed, because you at least built your future, right? So let's say Kyle Hurt and Emmett Sheehan and Nick Frasso, Landon Knack, let's say all these guys get a ton of action. And then in September, Andy Pages comes up and plays right field, and he ends up with, say, 100, 125 Major League at-bats. And then you don't win the World Series. Let's say you get beat by the Braves in the National League Championship Series. But now you have Emmett Sheehan, Kyle Hurt, Nick Frasso, Landon Knack, Andy Pages, Gavin Stone, Michael Groh. You have all these guys ready, and for the Dodgers fans to trust. You have at least built something that you can really feel like that you're going to win. Again, it doesn't have to be this year. DMAC is 100% correct in this. It doesn't have to be this year. Of course, we'd love it to be this year. And the sooner you win that first one, the easier it's going to be to win the second one. Sometimes that kind of like getting a run in baseball, that first one can be the hardest one to get, so I understand all that. But this is an era-based thing. Okay, how long is Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman in their prime? How long do you have Shohei? You have Yamamoto forever. You got Tyler Glass now for 5 years. So you have to look at this as, we want to win World Series championships in this era. And so if it's not this year, the last thing you want to do is leave this year empty-handed. At least build towards winning some world championships in this era. That's where I'm at with that. I think DMAC is absolutely spot on with that. Yeah, I'm going to move it back to Maddox Bruns. We had a comment on him. Here's Maddox Bruns right here. You've already seen that video. Let me move it to another one for him, as we have a comment on him. Bruns looks like a lefty Josh Beckett. Yeah, he does. Maddox Bruns is very good. He can work both east and west, north and south. He has the fastball. It's approaching 100 miles an hour, and it's just all a matter of getting – oh, look at that pitch right there. That is nasty. All about getting in the strike zone. Larry Partridge, Kenley is a good pitcher. Good is not good enough in the playoffs. I would agree with that, Larry. Okay, Scott Strong. I wish the Dodgers lined up to give up a bat and Ferguson for Tanner Scott, but giving up Vargas and Ferguson would be an overpay if only they still had an Amaya type. Well, the Amaya type that you might have, and I don't, hey, he's ranked fairly high right now. And let me get some video on him. And let's actually watch him. Tell me what you think, Scott. Tell me how valuable do you think this guy is right here, and we'll see if you recognize him when I get his offense up there right here. Trey Sweeney. This is a guy that you went and got. Did you? Of course. So you have Gavin Lux, who, and you also have Miggy Rowe. Miggy Rowe's your insurance for Gavin Lux if he can't handle it. So Trey Sweeney is going to be at the AAA level this year. Trey Sweeney, I believe, comes in like at number 15 on your top prospects list. So the Dodgers could have went and got Trey Sweeney easily to flip him in a trade like this. So no, you don't have a Jacob Amaya type, but look at that swing right there. This guy's big. He's like 6'3", 6'4". He stole 20 bases last year, so he's able to run a little bit, and his power projects to only build. So I could easily see an organization liking Trey Sweeney and giving him some value. I don't know. Is that outside the box? Is that inside the box? Who knows? So that could, Trey Sweeney could be a trade chip. You do have a middle infielder that you could possibly trade away. Chin Liu, please, Dodgers, don't bring back Kenley Jansen. This pitching is very, very good. Please bring back Ryan Brazer. That's where most Dodgers fans are coming down on this. If Clayton Kershaw wants to come back, pay him money playoffs game. He doesn't want, Chin Liu does not want Clayton Kershaw in the playoffs. I've heard that some for Dodgers fans too. And hey, we got to be real. Is Clayton Kershaw, again, when it comes playoff time, and you're looking at Trey Sweeney, I'm going to play some defense for him. Here, let's watch some defense from Trey Sweeney so you can see both sides of the ball for him. Got to be real. Going to say it again. If the Dodgers put the best option out there and not the option that is nostalgic, then I think they're going to win multiple world championships in this era. So Chin Liu says, hey, go ahead and bring Kershaw back, just not sold on the playoff deal. Hey, Jay, thank you so much for all of your wonderful comments and everything that you do for Dodgers Daily. I can't tell you how much you bring to this community. It was simply fantastic. Jay, upside of getting what I really love about Jay is Jay gives his opinion. He's passionate, and Jay and I don't always agree, and we just have such wonderful back and forth. It's just incredible how well versed his defenses are, and I'm like, oh man, yeah, that makes sense. And sometimes he makes me see the light, and then sometimes he agrees with me, and then sometimes we don't, and then sometimes we just agreed to begin with, and it's just fascinating conversation. So hey, Jay, I can't thank you enough for everything you do on Dodgers Daily. Please keep being awesome like you have been. Jay says upside of getting Kenley isn't nearly enough for what it would cost and wouldn't help us enough towards a World Series. And see, here's a guy, Jay, that I think all of the moves the Dodgers have made to this point, Jay has almost on all of them, has said the opportunity cost has been worth it. He's like me. He doesn't think the opportunity cost for Kenley would be worth it. Again, not saying Kenley's not good. This is, again, Trey Sweeney you're seeing play defense. Not saying that Kenley's not good, just saying that Kyle Hurt and Emmett Sheehan have special arm talent, and it's going to take somebody that you think has a chance to be borderline elite to get in their way and take their opportunities away from them. DGR Blue 4, so thank you for that comment. Yeah, Scott says if it takes anything more than some super meaningless guys, then of course not. But to be honest, Kenley does not have a high trade value. Yeah, it's not the trade value. And again, Scott, what I would say to that is it's not who you're giving up. It's who he blocks once he gets here. The Dodgers aren't going to worry about the trade prospects they're giving away. They're going to worry about the fact that he is is Kenley Jansen actually better than Kyle Hurt? Is Kenley Jansen better than Emmett Sheehan? That's going to be the question to that trade. DGR Blue 4, one thing worth noting, this team seems they prefer to get a veteran than to use a prospect. I would totally agree with that. I have whined about that, I'm sure, until all the people in Dodgers Daily Land is sick of hearing me whine about that. So I won't whine on that tonight. I'm glad you said it for me, though, there, DGR Blue. Hey, Larry Bays, thank you so much for joining tonight, every Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday. And if you haven't, hit that like button, leave a comment. Hey, we have 36 likes, and we have a tremendous lobby here. Not enough of you have hit that like button. Do me a favor, go over and hit that like button, leave a comment, not just in this chat, but leave a comment as well. Tell all your friends about Dodgers Daily, And if you haven't done it yet, then become a subscriber. Larry says no to Jansen. We need a late left-handed pitcher. Well, that late left-handed pitcher would be Tanner Scott. It would be out of the Dodgers' comfort zone to trade for him because, again, this is Trey Sweeney here. It would be out of the Dodgers' comfort zone to go get him, and I'm going to go back to my ugly mug until we get some comments. Hey, if you want to see a particular player or prospect or anybody, just let me know. I got video on all these guys, plenty of it, so I can get it up real fast and get the video on there. That way you're not looking at my face all night long. Nobody wants to see that. But, hey, let me know which prospect you want to see, and we'll throw that up there. So, yeah, no on Jansen. Need a late that left-hander would be Tanner Scott, no doubt. John Causey, I would love for them to try Hurt as closer. Me too. Or setup guy. I have no problem with that. Just say, hey, guys, Evan Phillips or closer, Joe Kelly, Kyle Hurt, Blake Trinan, there are setup guys. And then on that third day when Evan Phillips isn't available, one of those three guys is going to get the last three outs. Wow, that would be quite. And then you also have Ricky Vanasco, Gus Farland. You've got your lefties. And so, yeah, and then if you added Tanner Scott, he would be in that mix as well. So I would absolutely love that. I would love that scenario. That's a great scenario to have for the Dodgers. Jay says, I meant cost and development of young guys. Rourke Stevens, how about a trade dump of all these extra pitchers? Ding, 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 Rourke. I have been saying, this is why, and Jay will tell you this, we go back and forth on this, and Jay doesn't necessarily disagree. Jay just takes it basically by the particular instance, and he understands that, hey, you never can have too much pitching. What looks like a glut of pitching at the beginning of the year can turn in, as we saw, I'm glad we had all these guys because you have injuries, especially the type of pitchers the Dodgers went and got, and you might end up needing all of them. But I have been in the camp, trade these guys away, go get the guys that you need to move the ball towards the goal line of winning a World Series. And then also, again, what Rourke is saying here is that the Dodgers move the ball towards winning a World Series, and then those prospects, they get the opportunity to have a major league career. And for that perspective, that's more, the Dodgers are getting more value out of those. Even though you traded them away and you don't have them anymore, the Dodgers in that scenario actually got more value out of those guys because they got guys that move the ball towards the World Series back. So they got more value out of those guys than if they were just sitting them down in AAA Oklahoma City. That's what Rourke is saying, and I totally agree with that. Daniel Magana, can you do a special with Vanasco? The top 10 Ranger prospects for 3 years straight. I think he's a sleeper in our system as long as he stays healthy. I have covered Ricky Vanasco a lot, and Vanasco is simply fantastic, and I'm glad you brought him up. So let's get some video up on Ricky Vanasco, and let's get it off of me. There he is. So this is Ricky Vanasco right here. This guy, okay, so he got DFA'd by the Rangers, and then he ended up getting traded, and that process to the Dodgers. He was a starter. He was on the Rangers 40-man roster, so they thought enough of him to actually put them on the 40-man. Just didn't see the progress with him. The Dodgers got him. They moved him to a relief role. They made some adjustments. They gave him that cutter. Now he has that cutter, the curveball, and a fastball that reached 98. As a matter of fact, I think it might have reached 99. Ricky Vanasco quite possibly could hit 100 miles an hour next year. He's able to split the zone vertically with that high-riding four-seam fastball right there that you see at the top of the zone. Then he tunnels his breaking ball, that one. He tunnels his breaking ball off that same fastball location, and instead of staying at the top of the zone, that fastball tumbles to the bottom of the zone right there. And that's what I mean by splitting the zone vertically. And he's also added a cutter to get him a little hey, the reason why guys add a cutter is because all the depth, it's hard to control. And so you add that cutter, a little horizontal movement, and it gets you in the strike zone. Gavin Stone did that. So he added that pitch just kind of as a strike pitch to go with his vertical split of his fastball and his changeup. And man, was it a successful transition for him. He was simply the best minor league pitcher in minor league baseball for about the last month and a half. He got moved all the way up to AAA Oklahoma City. And I believe like in his last 10 or 11 outings. I think he gave up maybe 1 run. I mean, look at that fastball right there. That's just – and then look at that curveball. See how he split the zone vertically with that? That is pretty impressive for Ricky Vanasco. And see that little slider right there? That's kind of a little cutter-type pitch. See how now let me back that up. This was a game changer for Ricky Vanasco. This is what they did for him. Watch this right here. Not that one here. Maybe if I can back it up, or maybe I didn't back it up far enough. Yeah, let me back it up. That one right there. Okay, watch this. See that pitch? That little cutter, not as big of a breaking ball. What is the significance of that? First of all, if you look to your right, well, actually, there's no scoreboard here. See that right there? That was just a pitch to get him strike 1. So now you throw that little cutter / smaller slider. Now instead of ball 1, it's strike 1, and now you can use that 98, 99 mile-an-hour fastball. Look at that slider right there. That is an awesome pitch, and you're actually ahead in the count. So that's Ricky Vanasco. That's what he's good. I'm telling you, that's why the Dodgers signed him to a major league contract, and that's why he is going to ETA this year. So there's Ricky Vanasco, the long and the short. Daniel, thank you so much, and we're going to continue watching him because I want people to see just how talented he is. Dave Luna, thank you so much for joining. Hi, Casey. I'm sorry I haven't kept up with the show for a bit. I don't know if you've had the debate between Kike or Margot yet. Who would you pick? I would pick Margot. I think Margot is a better defender, and I think Margot here, and I don't, okay, so this isn't, let me get to another video on Ricky Vanasco. This isn't who's a better player between Kike and Margot. I think this is who is the better situation for the Dodgers. Margot is strictly going to be a platoon player with Jason Hayward and possibly with James Outman. And I think Manny Margot is a better defensive player than Kike Hernandez in the outfield. And I think if you look at his splits away from the trop, and then the fact that the Dodgers are going to be able to only put him in advantageous situations, I think Manny Margot is going to be a good player. I think he's going to be a better player in a platoon setting than Kike Hernandez would be. Kike Hernandez is going to be a better player in a utility role, and his value is going to be kind of Chris Taylor-ish to where, hey, he can provide depth at any position on the field other than pitcher or catcher. But Manny Margot's value is that he's going to be very good in a platoon. So you ask, what is it that the Dodgers actually need on this roster? Do they need another utility guy that provides you depth at every position on the field? Or do they need a guy that can platoon with Jason Hayward and be good at it? To me, they need the guy that can platoon with Jason Hayward and be a good platoon guy, and to me, that guy is Manny Margot. I think Jason Hayward and Manny Margot are going to make a good platoon in right field. I think the Dodgers are going to be able to play Jason Hayward against pitchers that he's good against. I think they're going to be able to use Margot, and then also James Outman, and between that triangle of guys, they are going to be able to match it up and get each one of those guys in the best positions. So from that perspective, I like Manny Margot. I think probably a lot of Dodgers fans are going to disagree with me, but those are my reasonings, and that's why I feel that way. So that is a great question, Dave. Again, you are looking at Ricky Vanasco. Now let's move on to another guy that you might have forgotten about, but he is absolutely nasty. His fastball was up to 98 last year. I clicked on the wrong one there. Let me get to him, and that would be Gus Varlin, the Gus Bus. I had an interview with him about a month ago. I have that released. You can go check that out. I love Gus Varlin. Hey, his slider's moving almost 40 inches. His fastball is up to 98 with 19 to 20 inches of arm side movement to it. When Gus Varlin is in the zone and he is healthy, he is absolutely nasty. This is him right here. Alberto Mosqueda. Thank you so much for joining, Alberto, every Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday. And again, if you haven't hit that like button, hey, we've had 9 since I said it last time. If you hadn't hit that like button, go hit that like button, leave a comment, tell all your friends about Dodgers Daily every Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday. Alberto Mosqueda, thank you so much for joining Kenley, JT, Kike, Billy, all Dodgers legends, but time for new ones. Otani, Yamamoto, Miller, Teo, let's focus on the new guard. I am with you on that. I want this to be a new era of Dodgers baseball, and I want this era to win multiple championships. Again, I think there's going to be plenty of Dodgers fans that don't agree with that are going to be sentimental towards certain guys, and I understand that as well. But Alberto, you and I are on the same page as far as turning the page to a new era at Dodgers baseball. Hey, Larry Partridge, thank you so much for joining. I like Yarbrough. I don't love him. Give his spot to Kyle Hurt. The problem with Ryan Yarbrough, Larry, is first of all, he's left-handed, and then he's versatile. You're looking right here at Gus Varland, by the way. He's versatile, so he can kind of he can kind of do every role. So he's kind of like the Chris Taylor of your pitching staff. The value he gives you isn't that he's necessarily great at any one spot, but you don't have to have a backup in any one spot. So he can be a starter. He could be your mid-relief guy that gives you 2 or 3 innings. So he can do a whole bunch of different things. But here's the real problem with Ryan Yarbrough. He doesn't have any minor league options left. So for the Dodgers to say, hey, we're not going to put Ryan Yarbrough on the 26-man roster, they would have to either trade him, which I don't know what kind of trade value he has. I would imagine his value as a versatile left-hander in the Dodgers rotation. Let me get to another video of Gus Varland here. I would imagine his value as a left-handed versatile pitcher in the rotation is more valuable than what the Dodgers could get back for him in a trade. So a trade scenario I don't think would work out to the Dodgers' benefit. And then the only other option at that point would be to DFA him, which would mean you would either trade him in the 7 days after you DFA him, or by the time that you actually assigned him to a minor league assignment, he would decline that and become a free agent. And at that point, you would be giving Ryan Yarbrough up for absolutely nothing. So for a position that you actually have a need for, which is left-handed pitching, to give up a guy that has major league experience and did a decent job for the Dodgers last year, possibly for nothing, and or a great undervalue in a trade scenario, it's just not somewhere, and I'm going to move this to Gus Varland, to a different video of Gus, it's just not somewhere where the Dodgers are going to go. They're not going to see the need in doing that. So I don't necessarily disagree with you on that sentiment. I do think Kyle Hurt he definitely has a lot more upside, and likely he would be a better pitcher even as early as this year than Ryan Yarbrough, but it's a lot more complicated than just saying, hey, let's send Ryan Yarbrough down and bring Kyle Hurt up. That's the problem you have right there. So those are great thoughts, Larry. Thank you so much for your comment. Hey, Kenneth Hall, thank you so much for joining. We have just an absolutely incredible lobby tonight. Guys, I can't tell you, you're looking at Gus Varland right here. Let's move on to another guy, somebody else in the system that you might want to see. Let's look at Blake Trinan, and this is his rehab from last year. You guys tell me, do you think Blake Trinan will be ready to go? He was about 93, 94 this night. I was actually there. Kenneth Hall. So what a wonderful lobby we have. This is an incredible lobby. I want to thank you guys so much as we watch Blake Trinan here for joining Dodgers Dogs and making this so much fun and making this show as successful as it is. I can't thank you enough. Thank you so much. Tell all your friends about Dodgers Daily every Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday. It is so awesome. I appreciate every single one of you guys that have joined tonight. Kenneth, you forgot about Dustin May. Yes, I'm sure he probably will end up in the bullpen when he comes back. I wouldn't say that I forgot about him. I would say that I am not. He's bonus to me. He same with Clayton Kershaw. Him and Clayton Kershaw. There's Drew Avens. Man, I wish they'd give Drew Avens a chance too. There's Michael Busch. Hey, I hope Michael has a great season with Chicago. He's bonus to me. I don't want to have to rely on Dustin May. If he comes back and he can pitch, that's great. That's gravy on the train. But I don't want to be in a situation to where I built my roster relying on Dustin May. But you are exactly right. Hey, if he comes back with that 100-mile-an-hour two-seam, he could be absolutely 100% nasty. Okay, my screen refreshed again, so I've got to get back to where I was at. I hate it when it does that. We've had just some awesome comments coming here, and that should be here's Rourke again. Rourke Stevens, I love Kershaw and the Dodgers' loyalty. However, I believe he should be given an executive coaching role like Herschel. Yeah, him and Austin Barnes. I know there is a lot of people that feel that. Hey, there's a comment from Sean. Hey, Sean. Man, Sean is one of the guys that I'm getting wonderful conversations with again. Sean, I want to say it out loud like I did with Mike, like I did with Jay, like I do with Austin. You are a rock star, man. I can't tell you how much I appreciate everything that you do for Dodgers Daily. The conversations we get into, your contributions here, man, they are so much appreciated. So thank you so much for joining, Sean. I'm always super excited to read your comments. I'd go with Brazer over Kenley, too. I think May needs to be in her closer role come October. I do, too. I mentioned that on a couple of tweets. I've mentioned it on a couple of shows. I would love Dustin May to become the closer. That would be simply fantastic. Roy says yes on Brazer and no on Jansen. Yeah, I'm right back to where I was at. There's that. Okay, here's Jay. I say no Brazer and no Kenley. Give the young kids a chance. I would be great for that. I think, though, Jay, I think you would, if they did bring Ryan Brazer back, I think you and I would probably be on the exact same page in the sense it would be like, okay, I get it. This is Blake Trinan again that you're looking at right here. Let's look at some video since he got brought up, and I'm going to kind of do this as people bring up names. Jay, I think I would like to ask you this question, though. If the Dodgers did go get Ryan Brazer, let me see if here's his rehab start. I'd like to play the minor league stuff because then I can play it for as long as I want, and then it doesn't get me on the copyright. So let me actually get to some stuff that I have right here. Yeah, right here. Let's play this right here for Dustin May. I think you and I would probably be on the same train there that if they did bring back Ryan Brazer, we would be certainly okay with that. I'd be curious to see what your thoughts are there. Leave your thoughts and let me know what you think about that, Jay. Hey, Larry Braze says, Brazer, yes, no to TK. Who do you think they want to remove from the 40-man roster? Yeah, right. Well, the thing is that, Larry, they're going to do this after pitchers and catchers report, which means they're going to put Dustin May, Tony Gonsolin, and then Clayton Kershaw if they sign him on the 60-day. That's going to open up spots for these guys. So until Dustin May returns, until Tony Gonsolin, until Clayton Kershaw return, you have enough spots for these guys. The 26 is going to be the big problem. That's going to be the big crunch. So, hey, great comments. Thank you so much for those. Larry Partridge, a closer, has to be able to hold runners on base. Yeah, that's a problem too. Of course, no, look at that rain. Of course, some would say that just don't let him on base to begin with, but I wouldn't disagree with you there, and I think you're talking about Kenley Jansen and his big leg kick. That would be a knock, though, against Dustin May, too. He has that big leg kick, too. Time to move on. It's not 2017. Kind of funny, John Quimby. Thank you so much for your comment. I actually mentioned that exact year, 2017. It's not 2017 earlier. Jay says, yeah, the kids probably have better stuff than anyone else we could get. That's kind of where I'm at right now. Kyle Hurt, Nick Frosso. Nick Frosso has, this isn't my opinion, guys. This is a fact. Nick Frosso has north of 7-foot extension. He has crossfire, which means that he lands towards the third base box, and basically he steps behind a right-handed hitter. So it crosses across his body. That's called crossfire. And he reaches 100 consistently. So that's a crown jewel fastball. We know, we've seen Kyle Hurt stuff, Emmett Sheehan stuff. They strike everybody out, right? So even Ryan Brazer, these young guys have better stuff than Ryan Brazer. Now, are they more effective major league pitchers? Ryan Brazer was fantastic last year. But you're 100% correct, Sean. The guys that you have in-house, just from an arm talent perspective, are, again, you're looking obviously at Dustin May here, are going to have more arm talent than anybody that you can go get. Loopy Hinojosa, thank you so much for joining, Loopy. Hey, and if you haven't done it yet, hit that like button, leave a comment, tell all your friends about Dodgers Daily, and become a subscriber. Make sure and show up every Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday at 6 o'clock Pacific so we can talk Dodgers baseball on Dodgers Dogs. And, boy, my screen just, here we go, right here. My screen just refreshed again. Loopy says, no on Jansen, that would be a waste of money. Necron 99, Sam. So let's just say Sam. I think we're going to call Necron 99 Sam here. If the kids don't make it, we make deadline trades for our pin. Ding, 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 ding. There is hedging your bets. I love that, Necron, or Sam, however you want to be called. Leave a comment. Let me know, would you rather be called Sam or Necron 99? I would be very curious which one you'd rather. I'd rather call you what you want to be called. Totally agree with that. Man, give all the runway to Frosso. Give all the runway to Hurt. you're going to win 95 games standing on your head with the offense you have, right? And the starting pitching. So give all your runway to the prospects. Let's see what they have. If they run with it, stick with them. If they don't, then at the trade deadline, go give what you need. Necron, that is just absolutely awesome. And by the way, Mike, you are 100% welcome for those kind words because I meant every single one of them. And so thank you for everything you do. Jay says Mike is great, no doubt. I think Jay actually might have been talking to Mike might have actually been talking to Jay because Jay's telling Mike that he's great. He is absolutely fantastic. Yeah, player, thank you so much for joining. Do you think there's an issue with the Paxton signing? I do not. It's been about 5 days, but the Dodgers haven't officially announced it yet. There is not an issue with that. Again, it's a matter of roster spots, and it's a matter of having enough spots on the 40-man, and they don't want to DFA anybody. So there is absolutely no issue with the Paxton signing. Do not worry about that whatsoever, and I'm pretty excited about the possibilities of it. Again, nothing is guaranteed, especially a guy like that. The Dodgers are taking a chance with Paxton, but the chance is a good one because the upside is high. But no, don't worry about the signing. This is all just math and 40-man spots and not wanting to give up guys. They don't want to give up a Ricky Vanasco or a Gus Farland or an Alex Vesia or guys like that. What they don't want to give up are their guys that actually have minor league options left. Those are the guys that are valuable because when we talk about the six, that's why we mentioned that Yency Almonte was likely the guy to be DFA'd. Now, when we said DFA'd, we knew the club wasn't going to DFA them, but that's why they traded Yency Almonte. Well, you might say, well, why didn't they trade away Gus Farland? Why didn't they trade away Alex Vesia? Vesia wouldn't actually. Yeah, why wouldn't they trade away Alex Vesia? Well, the reason is Alex Vesia has options. Okay, you say, well, why didn't they trade J.P. Fireeisen? The reason is because J.P. Fireeisen has options. Yency Almonte didn't. So if the Dodgers want to use a six-man rotation, just go back to Jay's comment on this. He explained this perfectly. Bill Plunkett, I think, is who he said explained this. The way the Dodgers, the only way you can do a six-man rotation. So the way they do it in Japan is that their starters actually try to go 9 innings. So you don't need as many bullpen guys. But in American baseball, especially in the Dodgers system, when your starters are only going 6 innings, you can't have a six-man rotation because you're eliminating a bullpen arm. And if you're only going 6 innings and having to cover 3 every night with your bullpen, without that extra bullpen arm, just mathematically it doesn't work. So the only way it can work is if you use that taxi train back and forth, and the guy that you're bringing up always is a guy that can give you 3 or 4 innings. So you use that Oklahoma City up-down train, and then another thing that the Dodgers do is that they manipulate the IL. So when they need a guy, their bullpen's wearing thin, and they need a guy that can go 3 or 4 innings out of the bullpen, they'll put somebody on the IL, which will allow them to clear a spot to bring somebody up that can give them some innings. So the Dodgers forever, like Jay was saying, under Friedman, basically have been using a 6-man rotation for as long as Friedman has been with the Dodgers. They just haven't called it that, and they've done it by that Oklahoma City up-down train and also by manipulating the IL. So if they went 6-man, it wouldn't be any different this year than it really has been in the past. It would just be, to the fans, a little bit more obvious because of who they'd be using it with, which would be Emmett Sheehan. So that situation is one to monitor. The OKC ballpark is so cool. Love it. I go a couple times a year. Hey, I'm glad you said it, Empire Jeff TV, and thank you so much for joining. It is my favorite place on earth. I was there the first night they opened it up in 1998. I was one of those over 14,000 fans, and I love that ballpark. Hey, Eddie Chavez, I love your show. Thank you so much for that comment, Eddie. Every Monday, Wednesday, not Monday, every Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday, 6 o'clock Pacific. So do I think there's an issue with the Paxton signing? No. Hey, Daryl, thank you so much for joining. Daryl says, I say give some of the kids a chance. I agree with you, Daryl. No doubt about that. David E. says, I want Kyle Hurt in this bullpen. Jensen just makes his case harder. That is, if not impossible. So if you go get Jensen, just math would tell you you're going to have either Emmett Sheehan or Kyle Hurt on the roster, not both, and at sometimes neither. That's what's going to happen if you sign him or Ryan Brazer. So you have to make your mind up Is that worth it to you? There's going to be different opinions on that. Hey, Necron says, I think they're trading Paxton in a multi-deal. Rumors said. If you want to see another prospect, just let me know. I've got video on all of these guys. Larry Hinojosa, thank you. You are right on Jansen. Okay, Daniel Magana. Well said, Casey. Big fan of the show. Keep up the outstanding work. Thank you so much, Daniel. I certainly appreciate that. We work hard, and what we really work hard on is just being around the org and getting their vibes, so we don't have to bug them for scoop or even ask them for scoop. We pretty much know what they're going to do before they do it, which is why I think when you've seen this coverage, we knew about the Rule 5 stuff. We've been pretty much on top of who is going to get traded, who is going to stay, the NC Almonte type situations. We're ahead of those situations because we're around the org and we pay attention to how they operate, and we have so much respect for it that we don't want to put the people in the organization in situations to where they have to ask uncomfortable questions, and that we just know it just because we're around them. So I just, anytime somebody appreciates the show, I am just so thankful for your comments. So thank you so much for that. Scott Strong says, I completely forgot about Trey Sweeney. Yep. He's a guy the Dodgers are so good at this. Jackson Ferris may be that guy. And that's what I was saying about Jesus Luzardo. If you would have went and got him, you could have flipped him too. Now, I'm not saying you had to, but with 3 years of team control, you still would have had 2 left. He still would have been an extremely valuable trade piece when you're evaluating, hey, who do we want to keep and who we don't. He gives you the flexibility that he could be one of them. Whereas now, Paxton's not. Now you're just not going to have a guy in that role. You're not going to have a lefty this time next year as a starter to do that with. Mike says we could lose to Atlanta if we pick up Brazer and Jansen. It's a gamble I'm willing to take on keeping Sheehan in the lineup and adding Hurt. I agree with you, Mike. No doubt about that. All right, let's keep going here. Got to get my water in my system here so I can keep talking. We have an awesome crowd. Thank you guys so much. Hey, if you haven't hit that like button yet, please do. And if you have not left a message yet, please do that. And if you're not a subscriber, definitely become a subscriber. Scott says, trading Ferguson and Sweeney for Scott would essentially just be trading Ferguson and Gonzalez and Vivas for Tanner Scott, a good trade. Yeah, if they would take Caleb Ferguson and Trey Sweeney, that would be interesting. That would be worth it for them because you're getting a similar type lefty back, and then you're also getting a shortstop. Hey, man, Scott, you might be onto something. How about Caleb Ferguson and Trey Sweeney for Tanner Scott? That would be fantastic. I would do that. I think that would work for both sides. Hey, what do you guys think about that? What do you think about? Let's put Trey Sweeney back up on the board here. Let's look at him a little bit more, and let's check out his offensive game. Sweet swinging left-handed stick that the Dodgers just picked up in the offseason. Let's cut on over, and there you go right there, and let's get back to the chat. Scott, wonderful. I like that trade scenario. I think that would work. Roy says, Mike is spot on. Man, what an awesome crowd we had tonight. Hey, Matty Man 5 Dodge. Thank you so much for joining. I always love it when Matty Man shows up and joins our lobby here and leaves comments. Man, Matty Man adds so much to our comment section. I love his comments. Always too much PTSD with Dodgers fans for Kenley to work again in LA. Yeah, he always has a very, very big sense of humor. Danny Pang. Hey, Danny, thank you so much for joining. I read we can't afford Brazer, huh? Yeah, we can afford Brazer. The Dodgers, nothing for the Dodgers at this point is about money. It's about roster spots. I've been saying that for a while. One-Eyed Dragon, it's time for Dodgers baseball. Let's go. We've had all the fuss and feathers. I love that when Vince Scully does that. But it's just, man, it's time for Dodgers baseball. They used to play that in Oklahoma City every time, and it was just so simply fantastic. I just would get so going. Hey, Ronan Kopp going to be on the 43-man roster. Let's throw Ronan Kopp up there. How about the big Madison Bumgarner lookalike young man who I think is ready to ETA? I don't think he will because there are so many guys in the system. I think he will ETA in 2025, though. I think there's an outside shot that he could ETA this year because I think he is ready. But this dude, since they moved into the pen, is simply dynamite, no doubt. Matty Man 5 Dodge just diagnosed, said Roy. Yeah, that's funny. Hey, the design 209. Thank you so much for joining. Jansen is not an upgrade anymore. I would agree with that. Matty Man 5. Too much pressure on him, Roy. Yeah, no doubt. Hey, thank you again for joining Matty Man 5. Roy Estrada, 49ers Chiefs Super Bowl. Hey, my coaching partner, Terry Bennett, one of my best friends in the world, huge San Francisco 49ers fan. He will be excited about that. Jay says Vanasco is nasty. And you are 100% correct, Jay. Ricky Vanasco is absolutely nasty. Necron99, Ravens remind me of a certain Major League Baseball team. Oh, boy. Hey, this is Ronan Kopp, by the way, you're seeing right here. I'm going to flip some more video through him. Ronan Kopp, man, look at that. I love the way he hides the ball, his long extension, the way it explodes out of his hand. He is just awesome. I love Ronan Kopp. Hey, Mike, Dodgers have pitching. They need to start building the outfield and third base. Right now we have Teoscar, Hayward, Margot, and Outman. And then don't forget you also have Chris Taylor. Chris Taylor it works into that equation as well. And then also I think somewhere in July, you're also going to have the option, another right-handed option in Andy Pages. And he's already on the 40-man. So there are options there. Roy Estrada, Mr. Irrelevant to Super Bowl. Well done, young man. Hey, Mi Rojo, thank you so much for joining me, Rojo. If you have not done it, hey, we've had a huge crowd tonight, only 56 likes. If you haven't hit that like button, go over, hit that like button right now. Leave a comment, tell all your friends about Dodgers Daily. Smash that like button, again, as D-Mac would say, and become a subscriber if you are not. So thank you for the comment, Mi Rojo. I'll take the platoon guy. Yeah, that's a personal opinion, yeah. And I said that's why I would take Margot over Kike Hernandez, because I think that fits the needs that the Dodgers have at this moment more. I think the Dodgers already have Chris Taylor. They already have Miguel Rojas, who's kind of that utility infield guy. They don't need another utility guy at this point. Mike Taylor. Hey, Mike, thank you so much for joining. I just lost my spot again as my chat just refreshed. I hate it when it does it. I am so sorry. Round Rock actually is in Texas. Let me get back up to where I was at. Mike says, I don't see the Dodgers trading for Jansen and eating possibly $5 or $6 million of the 22 contract that Boston was adding. Yeah, that's a good point. But again, I don't think I don't disagree with you there, but I don't think it's going to be about money for the Dodgers. It's all about roster spots. Again, do you want to go get Jansen and pitch him instead of Kyle Hurt or Emmett Sheehan? I think that's the decision there. Mike Lopez, thank you so much for joining. Do you think if Belly dropped his price, would the Dodgers sign him to play right field? No. I will say that with a bullet. No, I do not think they would sign Cody Bellinger. Necron99, I can't wait to face Lynn. Yeah. Okay, Mi Rojo, a lot of good information. Thank you so much for that. I love talking Dodgers baseball, and we've had such a great crowd tonight. And we have so many awesome people leaving just incredible. This is one of the best chats that we've had since I've started this. This has just been simply fantastic. One-Eye Dragon says it's amazing how we've had such a great offseason, and we're still concerned about the outfield, third base, the closer, etc. Yeah, man, that's one of the great things about baseball. Look at that dirty curveball from Ronan Kopp that you're seeing here, is that it takes so many people on a team, and you're only as weak as your weakest link. So, hey, that's a great point to make, One-Eye Dragon. I totally agree. Roy says, great show, Casey. Thank you so much, Roy. I certainly appreciate that. I love it when I'm with Austin, and Sunday nights are very difficult, so I hope I'm doing okay by myself. So I greatly appreciate those wonderful comments. Roy Larry Partridge, can Hurt be a Yarbrough type? Spot starter, bullpen, both. 100%. Let's get to some video on Kyle Hurt. I know we've covered him a lot, but you can never cover Kyle Hurt too much. So Kyle Hurt could be a starter. He had north of 40% strikeout rate as a starter. He could be a setup guy. He could be a closer. I know for a fact he doesn't care. See that bullet slider? That's been a difference for him. He does not care which one he is. He just wants to be on the Major League roster. So, yes, Kyle Hurt can do anything you need him to do as far as a role goes. And so, no doubt, Kyle Hurt can be a right-handed Ryan Yarbrough in the sense that he can give you just about any role. Think of Michael Grove and that type of versatility. That's the type of guy Kyle Hurt could be as well. Mike Taylor says, Belly acts like he wants to return, but he's costly and flawed. He's not coming back to the Dodgers. I'll just say that. Where is Round Rock, says Necron. Round Rock is actually a suburb of Austin, Texas, and that is where the AAA team for the Texas Rangers is located. So that is where Round Rock is at. Mike Taylor says Belly and Boris asking too much. I would agree. Angelo, good evening, Angelo. Every Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday. If you have not hit that like button, hey, we're up to 61. The goal. Let's get over 100 before we get off the air here in about 10 minutes. Let's get that thing up around 100. 61 likes. If you have not hit that like button, do it right now. If you have a friend that wants to come hit that like button, tell them to come hit the like button. Leave a comment and tell all your friends about Dodgers Daily. And if you're not a subscriber, please become one. Angelo, I miss Greg Gagne. Yeah. Sean is talking to One-Eyed Dragon. Bruce Davis. Bruce, thank you so much for joining. Hey, thank you so much. I certainly appreciate it. I love it when Bruce joins. Always such great comments. Why did we bring back Jansen? I don't understand this move. Okay, am I behind? That makes me scared here. Okay. That comment you made it sound like it had already happened, so I had to chase down. I know I'm a little bit behind, but not too far behind. Okay, so no, it does not look. Let me actually look that up. Make sure that I haven't missed any big news. That got me worried there, because whenever I'm on this by myself, it's hard for me to go back and forth. So no, I have not missed that news. So let's get back to the comments here. Sean says, thanks, Casey. Another great show. Glad I could catch this one, man. I always love it when you join, Sean. You always have such awesome thoughts. Okay, normally I would be more concerned about right field and shortstop than a closer. I think Gavin Lux needs the opportunity to try to become that dynamic shortstop that yet. This is Kyle Hurt, by the way, that you're seeing. Let me flip a new video up on him so you can get another look at him. I like Gavin Lux. I think he needs a chance there. So I don't think he's a concern as of now. You have Miggy Rowe, you have Chris Taylor as insurance, and I like the Hayward Margot platoon. I think that's going to be okay. So I mentioned the other night, if they are your worst offensive link, I think that's a pretty solid offense. So you're not asking them to be great. You just need them to be okay. And I definitely think Hayward and Margot can be at least okay out there as a platoon. Bruce Davis, we got to fix outfield and shortstop. Yeah. Jay says I'd be okay with Brazer. Casey, I would too. I think Jay and I are squarely we've been pretty much on the exact same page with all these acquisitions the Dodgers have made. Roy Estrada, Snell countered Yankees offer, 9 for $270. Norm Lee, Stanek, a better option than Brazer. The only problem with that is I've seen Ryan Brazer in a Dodgers uniform, which matters because I've seen him in the clubhouse with the guys, and I'm big on all that kind of stuff. We know that he fits in. We know he can pitch in the Dodgers system. We know he likes that type of instruction. So from that perspective, I think Brazer is a safer alternative. Again, you're looking at Kyle Hurt here. Mike Taylor, I don't think they'll chase Brazer with their depth. I'd trade May and Gonsolin. Wow, you trade May. I would not trade May. Anytime you can throw a two-seam around 100 miles an hour, that's something that not everybody has. Mike Taylor says Frasso is nasty. So are his mechanics. I rate him at a 3 to 5 year guy. As a matter of fact, he had shoulder surgery in the offseason. Don't know the exact health at this moment, so we'll see how that ends up. And he did end, and he has injuries in his past, so that's a fair point to make, Mike. And he did end 2023 on the injured list. Let's flip. Let's go look at Nick Frasso. You brought Nick Frasso up, so let's go ahead and take a look at his nastiness and his nasty mechanics that Mike was talking about. Here you go. Here is Nick Frasso right there. Roy Miranda, I'm positive multiple teams will offer Brazer a multi-year contract just to keep him away from the Dodgers. Yeah, I would imagine a lot of teams don't like the Dodgers at this point. Mike says, would the Dodgers trade for Tanner Scott? I don't know. I don't think they would. I hope they do. It's out of their box. But I think he might be cheap enough. I think it's within the ballpark. I think more likely you're looking at the Dodgers going and get Ryan Brazer. I think probably that's what the Dodgers are going to end up doing. Mike Taylor says, I don't think his mechanics, talking about Frasso that you're seeing on the screen, and release will hold up. That's a fair point. He does crossfire. and there is a lot of stress on that arm when he pitches. It's too late for Puig, and he's 30. Yeah, no Puig. Thank you. Hey, Mike Lopez, thank you so much for joining. How you feel about Urias? Yeah, Urias will never be a Dodger again. Again, it goes back to, even if you're not guilty, that does not mean that you held up the Dodgers standard of conduct, which is very, very high. So Mike says like 7 or 8 man rotation. Every starter that you have removes a bullpen guy, so it's still a game of math. Roy Estrada, Mike Lopez, yeah, they're talking about them back and forth there. Norm says someone is going to get Snell on a short-term high AAV with opt-outs, possibly Bellinger too. They both have to show consecutive productive years, especially Bellinger. I am out on Snell. I just, too many years, and there's too much chance at decline. Let me get you another video out here on Nick Frasso so you can see his 100-mile-an-hour crossfire fastball. Hey, Daniel Magana. Hey, Casey, which spring training invitee do you think has the best long shot to make the opening day roster? Well, it has to be a guy on the 40-man, so I would say that guy would be Ricky Vanasco. Ricky Vanasco is that talented. I think he could blast his way into the 26. It would take a lot because there's a lot of guys in front of him, but it has to be a guy on the 40-man, and that guy, in my opinion, would be Ricky Vanasco. Normally, I'm waiting for the day when they can break ties with Taylor. That violent uppercut swing is ridiculous. I am 100% with you on that. I hate that uppercut. So I hate it. It just creates so much of a loop and so much inconsistency. It drives me insane. I am right there with you, Norm. Matter of fact, I actually wrote an article about all of that. Mike Taylor says Hurt looks like a Hall of Fame starter. Yeah, a lot of Roger Clemens in him, man. A lot of rocket in him. He's pretty smooth. When he repeats his delivery, it's pretty impressive. Michael DeGreet, thank you so much for joining. Michael, don't want Kenley back. Mike Lopez, thank you so much for joining every Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday. If you haven't done yet, hit that like button, leave a comment, and become a subscriber if you're not. Give the young guns a chance to the bullpen. The only player I would trade for is Tanner Scott. I'm with you there. Charlie Stokes, I really enjoy your podcast. Kershaw will either. Thank you so much for those comments, Charlie. That is such a wonderful thing to say as you're watching Nick Frasso here on the screen. Thank you so much. Kershaw will either get a 1 or 2 year contract or retire if he wanted to leave another club. He would have done it already. I totally agree. He's going to sign after pitchers and catchers report, and I think the odds would say that he's probably going to sign a 2-year contract. I think you're right on the money there, Charlie. Michael Craywick. Michael in Thailand, I'm still going to therapy for, for PKSS, post-Kenley stress syndrome. Michael Craywick, thank you for your service, Kenley, but no thank you. Great work, Casey. Thank you so much, Michael. And who is the first guy who will be called up this season? That is a great question. Has to be on the 40-man. And I would have to say there's a good chance that guy would be Miguel Vargas, and it would be due to injuries. And it might be Kyle Hurt, and only because he doesn't start the year on the 40-man. So let's go with Kyle Hurt on that. BGVA, if you would have said a year ago one of the following Eddies, Yorbit, and Bush would not be in the organization coming into this year's spring training, who would it have been? Yeah, they of course, Eddies they gave away, and then Bush I thought they undervalued, and then Yorbit I thought was a good trade for the Dodgers. Roy Miranda, I sure hope Sportsnet LA will be more available. Kenny was a great Dodger, says One-Eye Dragon, but no thanks. What about Liam Hendricks or Emmanuel Clase? Emmanuel Clase, I just don't like the investment that you would have to go to get him. I just don't think you give up a gigantic haul for a reliever as good as Emmanuel Clase is, especially when you have the type of arms that you have in the pen. So, hey, this has been just an absolutely awesome show tonight. I can't thank everybody so much. These Sunday nights when I'm by myself, it is difficult. I know a lot of other shows do it, but I'm spoiled. I have Coach and I have Austin, I have Mike, and I have all these people that help me so much. So I'm spoiled, and I'm certainly spoiled when it comes to all of you guys, all you wonderful fans out there that made this such a great show. So again, for just an awesome time tonight, I want to thank you for tuning in and say, go Dodgers.